Do you only collect email addresses or maybe just name and email addresses on your opt-in forms? Let me show you how to take your email to a whole new level. See, if you're just collecting email addresses, then what you end up with is something like this. And sure, you could go through your email list and start to make guesses like this person must like Benji. I mean, they say they're a Benji lover. And you could say, well, they probably were raised on Sesame Street because in 1972, maybe that's their birth year. Maybe it's just something that Yahoo suggested, which they've had for so long that maybe this has become their junk email address. We just don't know, looking at the email address, who this person really is. So we can make a bunch of assumptions, and then we could call that's our email list. And really all we get out of an email list is the deliverability and the response to it. And that's okay. Obviously, huge fortunes have been made just off of email list alone. But today we have a totally different opportunity. See, we have email list 3.0 to be able to work with. And an email address can tell us the name, the age, where they live, their gender, what websites they have, job history, bio, their profile, and their top 5 cloud interests. In fact, not only that, they can tell us if they have a Twitter account, Foursquare, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Vimeo, Google Plus, or a cloud account, and what those are. So we can actually start to have a better feel for who is on our email list. Now, there's also the opportunity that we might not find out anything. All we hear is a big cricket sound because that's all that we know about the email address, which kind of tells us something in and of itself. We could assume that maybe that's just their spam email address, and they really don't use that on any of the social networks that they're involved with. Now, I'm not telling you all this so that you can start spamming people on social networks. In fact, I think that's totally wrong, and you're not going to get very far with it. Spamming is a form of desperation. It's not a marketing plan. But I'm also not saying if you find out that there's nothing associated with somebody's email address on the interwebs that you shouldn't email to them, because it could just be they're just not very social, but they do use email. What I am saying, though, is that when you can start to backfill your contacts record with more data about who that person is off of just an email address, then you can continue to just ask for an email address in your opt-ins, but then have it mean a whole lot more. See, when you have an email list that's at the 3.0 level, what happens is we can start to identify buyer demographics. Now, sure, when you get a buyer, you find out what their address is and their phone number because that's what they have to put in to be able to buy from you. But that still doesn't tell you a whole lot about them. But if you're able to get all this additional information from their email address, then you can start to paint a picture of who are the buyers, and you can get a feel for where they are, where they hang out, where they congregate. This means that you're going to be able to identify other traffic sources that could send you more customers. This is how we actually take our marketing to the next level. We're also going to be able to identify where our highest quality leads come from. Those lead sources can be identified by seeing where these people are congregating, how we got them in, but then also when we look and see if I have an opt-in here and I'm sending traffic A to it, and then most of my emails that come through have no social data on them, that tells me it's probably a whole bunch of junk email addresses I'm getting. Whereas if I get some sort of social information connected with that email address, then I can start to have this score, and I can score lead sources based on who are more trusting or who gives me better email addresses as they opt in. And so suddenly we're not showing all of our email addresses as being equal. We can start to grade our email addresses and determine the quality of the lead coming in based on how much information we're able to find on that email address. And then finally, we can start to identify some potential JV partners. When we see what the interests are and where these people congregate and who else they do business with, which we can discover through these social profiles and looking specifically at our buyers, then now we can start to form all sorts of other ideas on how we can get to that same customer in a way that's powerful and effective because we know who they are and where they hang out. And this is information that you just can't get in other ways. Now, I'd like to give you an opportunity to try it out and see what I mean by filling in all this social data. You can text your email address to 760-452-8555. Just text your email address to that number, and when you do, then what you're going to get is a social bot run on that email address, and it's going to return to you a full report of everything that is on the interwebs associated with your email address. Now, I'm not going to be emailing you anything at all with this. I just want you to test it out and see how it works. So just text your email address that you know has some social information on it to 760-452-8555. If you want to try sending like an email address you use just for spam to see if it pulls anything up as well, you're welcome to try that too. This is really just an experimental place for you to see how this social bot works. So go ahead and text your email address to 760-452-8555, and I promise you I will not send you any email. That's not the point of this. I just want you to try out and discover what's possible with just an email address on your list.